Viewers, thank you so much for making the time with us today. This is the Glory Ifezwe Foundation organizing a series on challenges to basic education in Nigeria. And today we have here with us Madam Keturah Shama. Madam Keturah Shama is very, very great. She's an award-winning humanitarian, a philanthropist, human rights champion, digital ambassador, and kingmaker, whose life is dedicated to defending, protecting, and promoting girls' rights to education through advocacy and impact programs delivery. She began her career in a non-profit establishment and leading of an organization that enables girls and young women the opportunity to fulfill their potential. Her core experiences at Girls Education Mission International, that is the where she currently serves as executive director, is developing and driving operational strategy, optimizing resources, process, and people empowerment, corporate communication, translating strategies into actionable goals for optimal performance, growth, and sustainability. And Madam Keturah, thank you so much for making the time with us today. We really appreciate your time and effort. Before we continue, I would like us to acknowledge some of our partners and our sponsors for this program. We want to thank Alliance for Progressive and Sustainable Environment, Timothy Chukwuma Educational Foundation, El Passion Foundation, Girls Education Mission International, Youth Against Drugs Initiative, the Henry Osabute Foundation, and Rank Digital Marketing Consultancy Limited.
So on teachers, the necessity for teacher training and better remuneration for teachers. We want to know, can increasing teachers' pay or remuneration improve the quality of teaching, during training and capacity building sessions? Will these things actually improve the quality of teaching in the country?
Absolutely, yes. Not just even teaching profession. In every profession, there is effect of high pay in the productivity of every employee, not just teachers. But before then, let me remind us about concerning, since we are talking about the quality of education, most especially the basic education. And in Nigeria, we know, as I have said in our program during the Education Day, the policy of education in Nigeria has stated it clearly that it is a covenant by the government. It is a covenant, the government of Nigeria entering with all children of Nigeria. And what is that covenant? The covenant is for the government of Nigeria to provide quality education to all children. And as I've said, a covenant is not something that one will take it lightly. And also we have the UBE Act, Universal Basic Education Act in Nigeria, where the aim is to ensure access to free, equitable, quality education for all children. But unfortunately, according to the report of UNICEF 2020, it says that over 10.5 million children are out of school in Nigeria, of which more than 50% of them are girls. And that limits, and that creates a gap in bridging. It has created a gap in ensuring the government have provided access to quality education. So in order to limit this gap, teachers has a paramount role in limiting this gap of access to quality education to every child in Nigeria. We have been hearing some of the barriers that has to do with lack of access to quality education or access to education. Some of them are shortage of schools or infrastructure. Some of them are poverty because parents cannot afford to pay school fees, buy uniforms. Girls cannot afford sanitary pads. But it will interest you to know that in a situation whereby all these are there without quality teachers, is also doesn't meet the standard of education. even when you have a good classroom, you have access to uniforms, your parents are able to pay school fees. If the child doesn't have a quality, the teacher that can teach well, it also affects the quality standard of education. So there is a need. That is why there is a need in motivating teachers, most especially their welfare is paramount. I can prove that because this is my field, and teachers training is one of our projects in my organization. But before then, we have not thought of training the teachers. But during one of our trainings, we sponsored 100 girls and ensure they have access to, we pay their school fees and also their exam fee. So when, at the course of our programs, we discover that we are just paying fees without considering what kind of education are these girls going through. So we discover that even girls in secondary school will not be able to write their names very well. And because of that, we said, let's get the root cause of it. Let's ensure we don't only pay their fees, but we also ensure they have access to quality education. And at the course of our interaction with them, we discovered that there is a need to invest in the teachers. So that was why we end up begin training of teachers. And
Okay.
coming to your question, whether payments of salary has effect on the quality of teaching. Just as I've said, of course, not just teachers. For me, if they increase my salary in the place of work, definitely I will perform more than I was doing before. So it's not just only teachers. It implies to every profession. But it is true that teacher salaries are below the standard. They are being paid below than what they are, below than their work. So high payments of teachers, by paying, it motivates the teachers to do their duties optimally and also diligently. You know, teachers' performance has great role in the child education. And you know, a teacher cannot perform well he is not being motivated, he's not being empowered, he feels that he's being just used, he can't perform well. And the fact that he is underperformed, it affects the quality of the child, because he will not give his best, or she will not give her best to ensure that this child has access to quality education. So if the teacher's salary has been appropriately given attention, there will be no more teachers looking for side work. You know, I want to be practical, because as an organization, we are partnering with Universal Basic Education Board in a state in Nigeria. I don't want to mention the state. In a state in Nigeria, of which we have covered all the states. For the last 3 years now, we have been training them zone by zone. And we are able to train more than 200 teachers, that is public primary school teachers, and over 60 quality assurance of education. So what I'm saying now at the moment is not just by theory, but it's a practical experience I am sharing. So at the course of our training, we really discovered that there is a need for teachers to be paid based on their work. In fact, you cannot even pay a teacher. And unfortunately, it's only the teaching profession that is said that the reward of a teacher is in heaven. I've never had other professions being said that your reward is in heaven, but it's a teaching profession that they will say your reward in heaven, of which teacher produce all professionals. So at the course of this, our training, in fact, because of that, the title of our project, we tag our title of our project, Linking Teachers' Welfare with Quality and Standard. To also advocate for the government to see the need of linking, ensuring the welfare of the teachers that will produce quality education in the state. So, you know, during the trainings, from experience point of view, even during the trainings, we will see how these teachers are being unmotivated, when we present them lessons that they will go and implement in their class, they have the passion, but unfortunately, when they remember their experiences at home, you will see hopelessness in them. Okay, as a professional in education, a teacher needs time to study wide, to do research, and also prepare himself or herself. Because, you know, as a teacher, you need to, you don't expect your learners know more than you. This is the expectation. All learners believe that teachers knows everything. So as a teacher, the teacher needs those time, this period. But unfortunately, there are teachers that had to take different jobs in order to meet up with their personal, family, and other needs, because what they are being paid is not enough for them. And because of that, that time that they are supposed to sit down and draft lesson notes and also make research, they don't have time for that. And that affects their productivity and their performance in the class. You could imagine a teacher. In fact, we had one of our participants that said throughout her teaching profession, she has never written a lesson note.
All right.
You'll imagine how it is. So because some of them is because there is no time. After school, they will have to come back. Some will have to go to the farm or look for another job in order to meet up with their personal, family, and other needs. So if they are being paid well, they will not have, let's take for example, other professions that will go to work from morning, they will come back and they are being paid. They don't have time, they don't need to seek for other jobs in order to meet up with their needs. Exactly. So that affects the performance of a teacher. So if a teacher is being paid well, the teacher will concentrate, will give his or her own best and ensure the child succeeds and bring out the best in the child. Mind you that the role of a teacher, just as I've said, is 24 hours. So the teacher doesn't have, because even after school, when you come back as a teacher in a community, you still have a role to really work, interact, relate, or ensure it's expected. You also know the welfare of your learners, even in the community, the expectation even in the community for you to live a well life is also part of all your life is around doing work from school and at the class and after outside the class. Yes. So high pay also it makes teacher to be loyal and perform well. You will see that loyalty in doing the work. And even the teachers, they are not being recognized. I remember when we launched our teachers training, we decided to launch it on the Teachers' Day.
All right.
And it was surprising. Even the government forgot that that day was a World Teachers' Day. If they recognize the work of a teacher, they would have celebrated Teachers' Day, but here we have them launching our project in collaboration with them on a Teachers' Day, but they forgot that that day is a day set aside to celebrate teachers. So imagine you have the feeling that my work is not being recognized. You know how this will be. So there will not be that loyalty to the work. And when a teacher is not loyal to the classroom, to the child education, you know, it will definitely affect the quality of education.
Right. Thank you so much, madam. Thank you so much. Well, viewers, we have it. We have learned a lot. We need to appreciate our teachers. We need to recognize them. We need to remunerate them well, because teachers are actually the ones raising all the great men and women out there, the pilots, the engineers, the presidents, the politicians. Mention all the professions, you know, someone teaches them, someone gives them knowledge. And recently I came across a post on social media that said, knowledge is not free, you have to pay for it. So once you pay for the knowledge, you need to actually give some form of encouragement to the person giving knowledge to the students. Thank you so much. All right, thank you for staying with us. us. We are back. We still have Madam Keturah here with us. And this is a Glory Ifezwe Foundation initiative on challenges to basic education in Nigeria, a series. And we are having Madam Keturah here with us, who is actually an educationist and an advocate to impact quality education to young girls. And she has given us a first briefing on why we need to increase incentives or pay remunerations of the teachers. And Madam, we want to thank you so much. Now we want to know what specific trainings should teachers undergo in order for students to receive the quality education that we think we need, especially those in the rural and the peri-urban communities. Because we know that for those in the urban areas, most of the quality education has to do with them going to private schools and the parents being able to afford it. But when it comes to the rural areas, it's got to do with government schools. So we want to know what specific training should teachers undergo in order for students to receive the quality education we think we need, seeing that there's the necessity for teacher training and better remuneration for our teachers. Thank you.
Let me start by saying you can't give what you don't have.
All right.
Yes, the teacher must have the knowledge in order to give out knowledge. Just as you mentioned, as a teacher, knowledge is expensive and
Yes.
teachers are out to give out knowledge, but you can't give knowledge when you don't have the knowledge. According to data by UNICEF, Institute of Statistics, it is stated that only 64% of primary school teachers in sub-Saharan Africa have minimum training required for the work.
Wow.
So, and also analysis from Nigerian Education Data Survey revealed that many teachers in public schools do not possess the requisite subject content knowledge to teach basic language and mathematics.
Oh, wow.
And you know, even though when they have such content knowledge, they lack the pedagogical skill to better transmit that knowledge they have. It's one thing to have the knowledge, it's another thing to know how to transmit that knowledge to your learners.
Yes, yes.
You see, from my experience with teachers, it's not just only for us to really tackle this issue. It should not just be when the teachers are in the classroom. It should start with the teachers during their training, in national, during the teachers' training in their various institutions. The teachers need to be trained well also to be able to come and train their learners. You could really say the teachers, the fact that the teachers have also passed through a very low standard of teacher education, that is why they are able to provide a lower standard of education to their learners, because they are passing what they have gotten.
Yes, yes, yes.
So that is why you could really see if a teacher will pass through a university and will not be able to present in a class, that is to tell you something is wrong with at the university or at the College of Education, the Teachers Institute. So it has to start from there. And so, you know, there are areas where I want to share that based on what we also do in our organization. For, just as I've said, you know, the national policy on education has taken an oath or a covenant with the Nigerian child to provide that child access to quality education. So
Yes.
that means that all Nigerian children have rights to access to a qualified, motivated, well-prepared, and committed teacher. It's the right of every child to have a well-prepared, motivated, respected, and committed teacher. It's a right for that Nigerian child. You know what covenant is?
Yes.
So, well, I'm not saying it. If you check the Nigerian policy of education, is there. I'm not just saying it. I'm quoting it from the the policy of education. That is why for one to make a covenant, you don't just make covenant anyhow. So
Yes.
for creating a stimulating, enjoyable physical, emotional environment in a classroom, a teacher needs to learn some basic skills to do that. Just as I've said, they may have, yes, there are various areas of teacher specialization. There are those that specialize in mathematics. There are some that specialize in social studies, different subjects. But it's not just about specializing on mathematics. How can I be able to translate that knowledge to the child? So that is why there are some areas that I want to bring out to do that. To have teachers being trained. So the teachers need to learn how to stimulate a child and to make the environment enjoyable. And they need to be physically and mentally conducive, the environment. The teacher has to provide that. And in order to do that, there are some areas that I want us to talk about. The teachers need to be trained on effective curriculum delivery using modern pedagogy. Pedagogy is the art of teaching. But anytime I see this word pedagogy, you know, every areas of specialization have, like in medical departments, they have their own terminologies, education have their own terminologies, psychologists have their own terminologies. Likewise, education, when you hear pedagogy, you just know that it's educational word. But it will surprise you during our first training, when we send our surveys to to the teachers, participants, to ask them whether they have knowledge or they know what pedagogy means, it is surprising that the percentage of the teachers that they said they don't have knowledge of pedagogy is higher than those that have that knowledge.
All right.
And this is what it is expected, that every teacher, when you see that word, you should be able to know what that word is. For you to pass through 3 years in the teacher's college, or 4 years, 5 years in the university as an educationist, as a teacher, without having knowledge or understanding, I want to believe they might have seen it as this big grammar, pedagogy, what does that mean? So that I'm just trying to explain to you, to show you how low the standard, right, even from the Teachers Institute.
Yes.
They might have seen it as a big grammar that, you know.
Yes.
So one of the things is for the teacher to be taught, they need to be, I know in the colleges, teachers' colleges, they may not have much time to teach everything. So that is why there is need for training and retraining in a way as a refresher course for the teachers to refresh their skills, their knowledge, and also their understanding of the profession. So just as I've said, one of the things is effective curriculum delivery using modern pedagogy. There is curriculum. Every teacher we have a curriculum in the National Policy of Education that a teacher is expected to deliver in the classroom. So the teacher needs to be trained to understand what is that curriculum all about, and also how can I deliver that curriculum. Most especially, you have started with mentioning COVID-19, with the way COVID-19 interrupted the education system. So these are unforeseen circumstances. If a teacher has knowledge of how to deliver that and the methodologies, even with COVID-19, there will not be that much gap in that. So the teachers need to be taught a creative and innovative way to create a conducive environment for a learner. You know, a learner cannot learn on an environment that is not conducive. When a learner feels that this environment is not secured for me, that learner will not be able to express or give attention to really what the teacher is saying. And the teacher can decide to do that, will be taught through music, through storytelling, through coloring, through theater, various ways. So now I'm trying to take us to some of the content in that for you to deliver a good curriculum in a modern pedagogy that is out of teaching. And in one of the ways is also through concept mapping. The teacher needs to understand various ways where you can present not just by words. You know, we have seen teachers that after writing, they will just take the textbook, come to the class, and they begin to just read the textbook to the learners. And when they read the copy note, the learners will copy note, give assignment, homework, and that is all. No, but there are various ways they need to engage them in activities, such as one of the things is concept mapping. In fact, I am a trained teacher, but not a practicing teacher. But I am learning through this teacher's training, and that has really helped me. So many things I was not taught in the university through these trainings. In fact, I even told them, even though we are the organizers, but I also need the certificate of being the participant because I am learning.
Yes.
So one of the things I learned is concept mapping, of which throughout my years of studies, I've never taught that teachers need to understand, such as concept mapping, how they can present information in a form of charts, graphs, you know, that will attract teachers, attract learners. They want to see something that it can attract them, then also help them give attention to that.
Yes.
Also, in the aspect of spelling, teachers need to know how to enable learners to write and also spell words by engaging them in the activity of spelling. But unfortunately, some teachers have even problems with the spelling. How can a teacher help a child to spell? Well, you yourself, you cannot. So that is to tell you the root of cause of the matter is not even at the level of the basic education in primary, but it has to tackle even from the universities or the colleges of education where the teachers are being trained. Also, they need to be taught how they can teach the child to experience science in their environment, using languages, using maths, making maths as part of life. So a teacher needs to be taught effective curriculum delivery using modern pedagogy.
Yeah.
Secondly, a teacher needs to be taught his role and code of conduct. Is very, very important. What are the roles of the teacher? The teacher needs to understand the child. You know, there are different teachers, the learners have differences based on their genders, their social status, their experiences at home. So a teacher needs to be taught, because while I'm just saying that these are some of the contents we teach our teachers that we are seeing results. They need to know how to understand a child. A teacher needs to be taught the rights of a child.
Yes.
As a teacher must know what are the rights of the child that is under my care, so that he knows his boundary and how he can deal with the child, and also how to protect the child, and also how to ensure inclusiveness. We have the girl child, we have the boy child, we have those with disabilities, we have those that are okay. So a teacher needs to understand. I'm telling you this during our trainings, when our facilitators are going through this, some of the teachers, their eyes were open. These were the things that they were not taught during their trainings.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And that has really helped them when they go back, because they just feel, I was looking for a job, I was given a job to go and teach, let me work and be paid. And that is why when the payment is not high, I feel discouraged. They will not be committed to the work, because their mindset is just to work and be paid. And the fact that the payment is not as expected, the loyalty is not there to the job.
Yes.
So, but the teachers need to understand, just as I've said, the child. and the right of the child, and also how to make the environment inclusive. The teachers need to learn how to develop a good conduct and high self-esteem. This is what the teachers will know, needs to be taught, that as a teacher, you need to conduct yourself well and also have a high self-esteem. Well, but I don't blame them. You know, at the last training we had, what really touched me is the teachers who were participants of our training are categorizing themselves as they are poor people, because they said teaching profession is for poor people. So I even asked them, are you telling me that all of we here are poor people?
Mm-hmm. All right.
Because that is the low self-esteem. That is how they have taken themselves. Look at themselves as people that are not being appreciated. Their job is well, they are just poor. And you know, when you have low self-esteem, even when there are opportunities that you can do well, you will not be able to do that, because already you are positioned yourself in that level that I cannot just do it. This is how the community look at me.
Yes.
So in our trainings and retraining, we need to help the teachers understand that they need to be proud of being teachers. And that will give them the high self-esteem.
Yes.
And also conduct themselves well. See, let me tell you, even from their dressing during our trainings is something else. It shows that they have categorized themselves as poor people. Because the way we have to even talk to them, in fact, one of the facilitators has to tell them, this is the way you are dressing is not how it is expected. Because by the way they dress shows how they have accepted their position to be. As teachers, they don't need to look good, and of which as a teacher, you are a role model. Also, the teachers need to be taught how to deliver life skills as success skill. You know, it's not just about you teaching your content, or as a social study teacher, let me just teach them. They need to, for them to succeed in that subject you are teaching, they need a life skill that will help them, because education is not just about not having the knowledge. Education is life continuous.
Yes.
So they need a life skill that will help them to use that knowledge to be able to live their life successfully in the classroom, in the community, in their place of work, where that is when they become employees. So teachers need to also know that, to be trained on that, to know that they are there in the school to also help them have life skills.
Yes.
Because that helps the learner to really live well in school. Another content is digital skills. This is very, very important. Yes. In fact, according to a report in the state where we work, this is from the NUT, that is National Union of Teachers Chairman in that state. Because we had an interview together on this issue of digital skill after our training. And from the union, the teachers union chairman, he said that in that state, 75% of teachers are digitally illiterate. And in fact, to me, I feel he has even increased it based on our own experience. Because our own survey is in a situation, for us, in a situation where we had 60 teachers, our survey shows that it's only 1%, 1 to 2% among them that are digitally literate.
Wow. Because
all the teachers we had that time, none of them had ever used Zoom.
Wow.
It's only 2 people that said they have heard about it, they downloaded it, but they have never used it. So we had to incorporate it in our trainings. Every time we had to do that. After that, we had to resort to even having a digital session, a follow-up using the Zoom platform. So we are able
Yeah.
to have few of the teachers that through our training, they were able to join us. In fact, there was even a participant during the training because she was having the phone, she had to borrow a smartphone to join the meeting. After the meeting, she forgot we are already live, but she was asking people to come and help her off the phone. She doesn't know how to off the phone and all this. Imagine a teacher. So they need to be trained to be given a digital skills. More so in this digital world that we are. COVID-19 has opened our eyes to see the needs of having digital skills. If all teachers have access to digital tools and also parents, education will have continued during the COVID-19, during the lockdown. But because of the limited access to digital skills, both in the part of the teachers and the part of the families, because even if a teacher has access to that, you have to connect to the child through his parents. So a teacher needs to have that digital skill. For the teacher's personal and professional development, not just even for the teaching sake.
Yes.
We have testimonies of the teachers that really, for your research, to develop yourself as a teacher. Also for ensuring effective education. There are some schools, in fact, there is one of the schools when we went there for following up, we saw the laptops because the government at the federal level, there was a program where they provided computers to some selected schools. We went to one of the schools that they were opportune to be given the computers. We saw the computers on the floor because it was an orientation program. And they took us at the lab. It was in the computer lab that we had the program. The computers were just there on the floor without, nobody is using them. And we asked the question, the teachers, nobody has the skill to teach. So the teachers need to be taught digital skills. And this one should not be even during the training and retraining of teachers. Just I am still emphasizing, during their training in the universities, as a teacher, for you to graduate, you should have a digital skill.
Yeah, very true.
That will help.
Yes, that's very true. So, Madam, before you continue,
a teacher should have a facilitation skill. Let me just say this last. Should have a facilitation skill. At least as a teacher, it is expected for me. If I hear any teacher that will say I cannot stand and speak before people, I say you are not a teacher. A teacher should be able to stand before everyone and speak.
Yeah.
So teachers should be taught also how to have speaking skills, because it has to do with standing before the children, standing before parents, standing in the community. A teacher also should be a respected person in the community. And that was how it was before now. So let me just stop.
That's fine. Yeah, okay. So thank you so much. So viewers, and there we have it. Thank you so much for joining. If you just joined, we have Madam Keturah Sharma here with us. This is the Glory Fezue Foundation's project on challenges to basic education in Nigeria. This is a series going on, and today we are here with Madam Keturah to speak on the topic, teacher training and proper remuneration for teachers. And she's talking about how proper teacher training can actually help give us quality education. She's talking about facilitation skills, digital skills. Teachers should have high self-esteem, proper training from the universities as teachers. As teachers, you need to train yourself well before. And she said one thing, you cannot give what you don't have. So you need to actually equip yourself well to be able to impart knowledge in the lives of your students. Please and kindly follow Glory Fezue Foundation on the various social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn at Glory Fezue Foundation, and follow Madam Keturah Sharma at Madam Keturah Sharma, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and all her social media platforms. Or you can just Google her name, Keturah Sharma, and her profile will just pop up. Now, Madam Keturah, just to wrap up, we want to know what are the differences or the similarities between teachers in the rural areas, or teachers in public schools and teachers in private schools, and the same as teachers in rural areas and teachers in urban areas? What do you think are the differences? What are the things that differentiate them to actually give out very good education, or for them to confidently teach their students?
Yes, in fact, the difference, the different environment is also one of the factors. Just as you said, in the urban and rural, rural is different from urban. Let me take, for example, like in the rural area, let's say in the urban area, even if you have not gone to school, you should be able to speak English without even going to the classroom. But in the rural area, even if you go to the school, you will find it difficult to speak English. So that is the difference of the environment. But let me be specific of the question I had, where it is said how different are the qualifications in teachers, private and public school. Let me talk about that. You know, from my own experience in this teachers training, education, and also monitoring the quality of education based on our projects, it will interest you to know that the public schools have more qualified teachers than the private schools. I know it may be surprising.
Yeah.
But let me explain this. You know, most of it's not about the qualification, it's about the process, how the teachers were being trained. Like in the government school, we discovered that almost all these government schools, hardly a government school employs a secondary school graduate. But we have in private school, they employ secondary school graduates as teachers. 80% of government teachers has the requisite certification, that is National Certificate of Education. If they don't have, some have teachers training certificate. But you see in private school, you can have someone that, yes, he has a degree, but that degree is not in education. In private school, mostly they are employed teachers that are not specialized on education, but as long as they are graduates, they employ them. So I will say, without doubt, that the government school have more teachers that have the requisite certification, not knowledge, certification. What differentiates it is issue of monitoring. That is where I see it. You know how monitoring mechanism is in private schools. The private school have a strong monitoring mechanism in place, where you have the founder of the proprietor of the school is always there in the school, the eyes of the proprietor is there, and the teachers have to sit up to do their job. The difference is that the government have more certified teachers than even the private teachers, private school.
Yes.
That is based on the experience and some of the statistics we do. Mostly in the government school, you see hardly government employ a secondary school graduate. Well, the private does that. But the difference, just as I've said, is in monitoring. The private schools have a strong monitoring mechanism. And let me tell you, for you to ensure there is a high standard of quality education, you need to have a strong monitoring mechanism. And that is why, even for us in our training, after our first training, we realized the need of training, including the quality assurance officers in our training. They are part of the trainings. because they are the one that has the responsibility of ensuring those teachers are doing the right thing. If a teacher knows that I can just do whatever I want, I can come to the school at the time I want, then when I sign, I can go to the farm, still come back to school, or I can be absent in school. Nobody is monitoring me. You know, that kind of situation, the teachers will be relaxed because the monitoring mechanism is not there. And there is nobody that will monitor you, but you can't do that in private school. And that is why in private school, there is that loyalty and there is that commitment in the side of the teachers. Even if the payment is not that much, but because there is, the teachers are there to look for job. If you can't bear the monitoring of private school, you have to go. So the difference is in the monitoring frame mechanism. The government has low monitoring mechanism, while the private has high monitoring mechanism. And also the private, this issue of training and retraining, you really see that the teachers in private or in urban areas, they are exposed more than the ones in the rural areas. Just as I've said, like even English, if you are in a rural urban area, even without going to school, you can speak. And also they have access to other trainings that not even organized by the schools. They can attend those trainings and also learn more skills to also improve their teaching skills. And private schools also, they organize various programs, of which in the rural areas, we don't have such. In fact, like these are the trainings we have to prioritize places where you see in most of the teachers that have never had any training. In fact, we have one of the teachers, she has been teaching for over 30 years, but she has never attended any refresher course.
Wow.
So most of the teachers that have been trained are those in the urban areas. So at the first of our training, when we discovered that they are recycling the same teachers because of the opportunities they have in the urban areas, we said we need those in the rural areas. And you could really see the excitement for them to even leave their communities to come to the city for 5 days, seeing electricity. You know, they look refreshed.
Yes.
And that is why you see there is different from those in the urban areas and those in the rural areas. The opportunities are different. The most especially opportunities in trainings, exposure, and other things, not even issue of the qualifications.
All right.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Ma. So, Ma, what in about 2 sentences, right? What do you think we can do to actually, what are some effective things that you think we can do to actually address these problems? In about 2-3 sentences.
The government should prioritize education. You know, anything you prioritize, all the frameworks are there, the policies are there, it's just giving it priority.
All right.
So education should be prioritized. When education is prioritized, more funding will go there and attention too will go there. So let's prioritize education.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Keturah. We've really enjoyed this session with you. Today you have really elaborated and explained things to details, and we really thank you so much for that. We would appreciate you viewers and those tuning in to actually leave your comments, likes, share this link to your friends for them to also have exposure to what this session has brought about, you know, challenges to basic education. And she has spoken about how we should recognize teachers, we should acknowledge them, teachers should have high self-esteem, you know, they should have facility skills, digital skills. Exposure alone is enough. Besides the qualifications, exposure, monitoring skills and effective monitoring of teachers. Also, we need to prioritize education so that more funding will go into that sector. And by so doing, this will contribute to improving the educational sector and thereby raising very, very responsible, knowledgeable, and qualified citizens in our country. Thank you so much, Ma, for your time. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you so much, viewers, for taking the time to actually watch this session. I want to say a very big thank you to Alliance for Progressive and Sustainable Environment, Timothy Chukwuma Educational Foundation, El Passion Foundation, Girls Education Mission International, Youth Against Drugs Initiatives, the Henry Osamuche Foundation, and Rank Digital Marketing Consultancy Limited. We also want to say a very big thank you to the host organization, Glory Ifezue Foundation. Follow Glory Ifezue Foundation on the various social media platforms. And I, Janet Usudako, I have been your moderator. You can follow me, Janet Usudako, on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for your time. Until next time, it's a bye. Thank you.